You are listening to Pivot Parenting, episode 203. Parenting isn't about the return on investment. Welcome to Pivot Parenting, the place where we recognize when your parental role needs to shift and how to do it. I'm your host and parenting expert, Heather Frazier. Hey, welcome to today's podcast episode. Okay, kind of funny. I usually start with hey, right? And guess what? Somebody wrote me a review on my podcast, which is so super nice. And I really appreciate, because when I get reviews, it makes it so that other people find me easier because they don't want to promote podcasts that nobody likes. And I don't know if this is by chance or this person is a genius, but I got a review from Hey 20039. And this person says, I have been listening to Pivot Parenting for a couple of years now, and it has helped me so much in parenting my teens. Transitioning from little kids to teenagers was challenging for me. There have been so many things that have me wondering if I messed up and failed. Heather offers so much hope and encouragement and insight to this unique time in our kids' lives. I love listening every week, and every episode has been very relatable and helpful. Highly recommended to any parent. Thank you, Hey. I really appreciate that. And I think that we kind of speak the same language here. You sound like me, and I am all for the Heys. So I hope that you're listening. And if you are, I would love to meet and thank you for your support and swag you up. Come to my book launch party. It is March 2nd. It's a Saturday from 11 to 1 in the afternoon at the shops at Riverwoods Mall, which is at the mouth of Provo Canyon. It's going to be at one of my very favorite places to shop, Soul Boutique. I love their shoes and jewelry and clothes and baby gifts and all of the things. It's also a local business, and it's really fun. And the business owner is giving everybody 20% off of an item. So she's swagging you up. And I have some surprises in store as well that I definitely want to give you, including, of course, meeting you, signing your book. I'll have lots of books there. I just ordered like 3 cases of books today. I'm so excited. So excited. It's all starting to feel so real. And I just really want Hey there, and I want all of you there. So come if you can. If you're close and available, it would be so fun. It's going to be an epic party. And if you can't make it, I totally get that. I know that all of my listeners are not close or even in the US, and I love you too. So get on my website, order the book. It's also going to be on Amazon and Audible, Barnes & Noble, Walmart.com, Target, all of those places. It'll be online. And of course, if you want to be the first to know, be on my email list, because that's where I send it out first. And you can get on my email list just by going to heatherfrazier.com, scroll to the bottom, put in your first name and your email, or I'll announce it on my podcast and social media as well. All right, ROI. Typically we hear this in the financial world or the real estate world. But today, this episode is brought to you by a parent who once used the term ROI when asked about how their kids were doing. And it wasn't a good return in the parent's opinion. It was a frustrated complaint. Now, I get it. And I'm not judging or thinking poorly of this or any other parent who thinks this stinks. Because guess what? We've all been there. I've poured my whole soul into my kid. And so have you, and so is the next parent. And sometimes that's really frustrating when they just can't even get themselves to school on time or at all, right? We do so much. We make dinner and then they just complain. We do their laundry. Ooh, have you guys ever done this? I used to do all the laundry in the house. I had to do like 2 full days of laundry a week. But then I would have all these neatly folded clothes, and then I would find them in my kids' dirty hampers. I don't know about you, but nothing else makes me more angry than finding neatly folded clothes buried under dirty clothes. That's one of those frustrating moments. So all my kids learned to do their own laundry because I couldn't not be pissed. And so they just got to learn how to do their own laundry. And if they wanted to wash clean clothes, that was on them. But I don't live for laundry. And so I would get kind of frustrated when I would see their neatly folded socks and shirts and stuff with stinky, gross stuff on top. But I digress. I get it, is what I'm trying to say. Sometimes this is all of us. And if this is you, I just want to break it down for you so that you can see what this approach can create. Because once we see what we're really doing and creating, then we can choose better, or at least we're more equipped to choose better. If you can see it and still can't shift, set an appointment with me or somebody else. Like, you can work through this, I promise. Okay, so let's look at, I'm going to run through my basic coaching model, which if you've been a listener for a while, like, hey, I typically coach from a cognitive behavioral standpoint, which is we have circumstances like what our kid is doing, and we have a lot of thoughts about that, which create our feelings, which drive our actions, which yield a result for us. So the circumstance is your kid isn't living how you want. Maybe it's a lifestyle that you don't like they're all goth or something, drugs, who they're dating, religious strife, mental or physical health struggles, not being as driven as you'd like, or setting goals and then never moving toward them, and that's really frustrating, or not having the same interests as you. You always dreamed of that son to play catch with, and they just want to play video games. Whatever they're currently doing that isn't your ideal. What they're doing is your circumstance, or not doing, their lack of. Maybe they just can't get themselves to school or even out of bed. And then the thought is the ROI or return on investment of being a parent isn't something I am happy I invested in. And that feels regretful, resentful, annoyed, betrayed, fooled, disappointed, sad, overwhelmed, frustrated. Any one of those kinds of things. However you feel when you think you've been ripped off by your expectation not being met when it comes to parenting your teen. That's a bad ROI, right? And then from that feeling of resentment or annoyance or frustration, whatever that feeling is, this is typically what parents do. They become passive aggressive. They micromanage. They're manipulative, controlling, or they give up and completely withdraw. They throw their arms in the air and say, forget about it. There's no way I can win. They try to control. They become straight up aggressive. They gossip to others. They talk poorly to their teen to let them know how disappointed they are so that the kid can shape up. I was coaching somebody this week. I love this client. And it was fascinating to me how she felt like her kid wouldn't learn if she wasn't angry or mad or disappointed or mopey toward them. Like that was part of an appropriate consequence, is to make sure that they knew that they had upset you. Isn't that fascinating? We think that that helps motivate them to change, but it really doesn't. Which yields, so when we're being passive aggressive or gossipy or whatever it is, because we're feeling resentful, frustrated, annoyed, then we yield the result of, I am also a poor investment. I'm not behaving nice. I'm not respectable. And I'm not behaving in a way that anybody, including me, would want to be treated. Can you see how those correlate? We think that our kid is doing it wrong, so then we do it wrong. Let's look closer at the cause of this problem, which, by the way, is not your kid doing stuff. It's the whole ROI belief thing. That's where we're getting it wrong. So what do we invest in as humans? We invest in stocks, real estate, Bitcoin, NFTs, businesses. It's essentially saying, I'll give you time, money, something valuable, and I'll be repaid. Hopefully, because this should be a wise investment, because all of us only want to make wise investments. Nobody says, I'd love to throw my money away. Yes, I will definitely invest in your cat herding ranch in Montana, because we all know cats aren't herdable. When we look at the actual problem, which again is our thought that the ROI stinks and that it should be different, I have 4 different problems. It creates more than 4, but here's some basic 4 to get you going. The first is that our kids are people, not objects or ideas like things we invest in. So we're objectifying our kids as something that we give to that eventually gives back. But nobody likes being objectified. It's not nice. Now, maybe in bygone eras, families had to have enough kids to run the farm, especially like if the Spanish flu hits and a bunch of them die. But that's not today. So we need to rewire our primitive belief systems that we need to have kids as like helps around the house. Now, they for sure should help around the house. I'm not saying that. But they're more than that. They're more than just somebody to do chores or to make us feel good, because that's just thinking that they're there to solve a problem for us, and that is objectification. So we don't want to do that. The second is that there's some kind of vending machine idea going on here. I put in something of worth, I deserve to get something of worth back. No. Our kids were our choice to have. Then they get to choose for themselves what kind of life they want, and they owe their parents nothing. Now, it's nice if they say thank you. It's nice if they're kind and courteous. But genuinely, when we decide to become parents, that's 100% our decision. And so our kids just get to do their life. I've heard of parents saying, this is really extreme. Some extreme examples for you. I paid to fix your bike when you were 12, so you should give me money now that you're an adult. Nope. Or even more abusive, making kids pay for items that they already own just to extract money from them and maintain power over them. Also a no. Neither of these parents, by the way, were my clients. I think that parents who are that far out there in trying to get their kids to pay up because they're owed, they would never listen to this podcast or want coaching. Because let's be honest, that's silly. And nobody that is rational is fool enough to not realize that kids cost money, sleep, they take emotional and physical tolls, and yet still we agree to have them. Your kid doesn't owe you anything, ever, unless you agreed, let's split your snow tires, or I'll go half in for the cheer camp if you can pay the other half. If they're agreeing to something, then that's great. That's fair and kind and right. But just because they're your kid and you have had to take care of them, that does not put them in your debt at all. You, however, owe them love and other basic life necessities because as parents, we're the ones who chose to have them. And if you can't meet those needs, there are local and government programs all over the place to help you out. Find a local charity, church, government, or social program. They can help you. So, for example, if you help them with homework, they don't owe you help for dinner. Sure, you can ask them, and that's a really fun time to connect and teach and bond with them if they help you. And you can definitely have rules and chores and things like that. That's good parenting to have some kind of standards for our kids. But parenting, again, isn't a vending machine. It's actually a charity, an education, and an invitation to evolve for us and for them, should the invitation be accepted. Now, you accepted that invitation when you decide to become a parent, and especially, I'm so glad you're here, especially as you tune into what I've got to say, because you clearly want to learn and evolve, because you're a good parent. So let's drop the vending machine idea, which, by the way, caveat, I draw a picture of this in my book, How I Fixed My Teen. I think it's chapter 1. Let's see, I've got a hard copy of my book right here, which is so exciting. Oh, it's chapter 2. Chapter 2, I have this really amazing stick figure of somebody very disgruntled at a vending machine, not getting what they want. I did drawings for all the chapters, except for the first one. My daughter did that drawing, and she crushed it. She was a little girl when she did it. The third problem that the ROI belief creates for us is the coulda, woulda, shoulda game. It's feeling regret and feeling trapped, like we don't have choices. Guess what happens when we feel disempowered? We tend to lash out or give up. And our kids don't deserve either of these types of parenting styles. Sometimes when I have a friend or a client, mainly clients, I try not to coach my friends or family unless they explicitly ask for it. And oftentimes when they come to me upset, I'll say, do you want a friend or do you want a coach? Because the answers and how I speak are greatly different. I'm the most loyal friend. I will trash talk anybody that's doing my friends wrong. But as a coach, I do not. And so I ask if they want a coach or a friend. But when I'm coaching and somebody is saying that they feel trapped in their marriage or with kids that make them miserable or whatever picture they're painting, I'm like, oh, that's an easy fix. Just leave. You're an adult. You don't have to stay. Just like, where do you want to go? Cancun, the Bahamas, maybe Alaska? Like, where do you want to go? And they look at me like I'm crazy over Zoom. They don't want to leave. They want to stay there. Weird. Nobody's trapping you. And the coulda, woulda, shoulda game is just our brain trying to problem solve so that we don't find ourselves in this situation again, which there's not a lot of value to the coulda, woulda, shoulda game. It's actually so much more resourceful to say, this is where we're at, and now what? Instead of looking back at what we did wrong, let's just say I'm choosing to stay here as the mom, as the wife or husband. And so now what? Can you feel the difference in that? Like, okay, so my kid is hangry all the time and is kind of sassy or is lying to me, or I just found their vape pen or whatever it is. And instead of feeling like I can't speak up, I can't have any power here, We just want to say, yeah, I'm choosing to stay here even when it's hard, because some people do leave their family, but you haven't. Did you know that? You have choices. Sometimes I'm a little blunt. You're not trapped. And there's no going back and redoing anything. So we want to own our choices or make a new one. Staying or leaving both have consequences. Just like what your kids are doing has consequences for them. If your kid refuses to go to school, well, they might get bad grades and they might not graduate. And we can encourage them and help them and love them. But ultimately, they get to decide that, just like ultimately you get to decide how you want to show up. Okay, number 4. When we look at the ROI and thinking that our kid is an abysmal disappointment, it's assigning your kid the job of determining if you're a good parent. This is always a bad idea. This causes all kinds of problems. And it mainly boils down to parents being manipulative, controlling, and even abusive at times. I see this especially around religion. Forcing your kid to play the part of a good religious Christian kid, forcing them to go to church past a certain age or dress a certain way, forcing them to do activities that you deem as good enough so that you can feel like you're successful when they're actively trying to choose otherwise. Now, I'm not saying that you should let a 6-year-old not go to church, but maybe like a 17, 18, like you get to decide what age. But forcing our kids to do things when they're nearing adulthood or even in the earlier teens, it can cause a lot of problems when we want them to do this so that we know we're doing a good job. Does that make sense? It is not your kid's job to make sure that you know you're awesome and give you the pat on your back so that all the teachers and all the people are saying, oh, Johnny's so respectful and Sally always does her very best and is nice to everybody and always has the right answer. It's awesome if your kid is doing those things. And it's okay if they're not. And have you ever noticed that some parents have kids that do both? And it really doesn't matter in the sense that you can have one parent with very different children, and it does not affect the parenting quality of those parents. And I offer you to just step into the belief that you're a good parent, even if your kid is doing who knows what every hour of the day. If you're trying your best and you're loving them and attempting to keep them safe and teach them, you're a good parent. They don't have to hit a certain standard so that you can then feel like a good parent, I promise. And when we can let that go and just own that we're awesome and human and imperfect and that we love our kid like crazy, we tend to love them like crazy and parent them so much better. All right, you guys, does it feel like your teenager is giving you a good return on investment? I hope that you've appreciated what I have pointed out for you. Again, I really love reviews. If you write me one, I will read it and grab my book. Come to the book party or order on my website while the free audio is still a thing. I want to send it to you. And hopefully I will get to see you on March 2nd. Take care, my friend, and we will talk to you next week.
Heather is the one, an expert in the field. She knows her parenting stuff, including how confusing it can be. You've tried it all, and it's a lost cause. Crying about your life.